Have you ever felt like life is an unrelenting storm? Those days when everything seems to conspire against you, work piles up, financial pressures weigh heavy, relationships grow tense, and even the smallest things, like a spilled coffee or an unanswered text, push you to the edge. In those moments, what do? Do you let anger sweep you away, or do you find a way to stand firm? Picture a Roman soldier standing in the chaos of a battlefield. The clash of swords, the cries of comrades, and the shadow of death surround him. Yet he remains calm, his gaze steady, his mind focused. What keeps him from trembling? It's not physical strength or a sharp blade, but inner strength, the ability to control his mind and emotions, no matter how harsh the world around him. Today, on B Audio, we're diving into one of the core lessons of Stoic philosophy, the power of inner control. This isn't just an abstract theory, it's a practical tool, a lighthouse to guide you through the storms of modern life. We'll learn from great Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, who trained their minds to live meaningful lives, whether facing adversity or triumph. Join me on this journey. Grab a cup of tea, a notebook, and get ready to change the way you see the world. 1. Stoic philosophy, the foundation of control. Stoic philosophy, born over 2,000 years ago in Greece and Rome, isn't a complex set of rules. It's simple yet profound. Happiness doesn't come from controlling the outside world, but from controlling yourself. Stoicism teaches that life is full of things beyond our grasp, whether other people's actions, illness, or unexpected disasters. But one thing is always yours: how you respond. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Pause for a moment and reflect on that. Your life might be torn apart by pressures, a demanding job, a strained relationship, or worries about the future. But Stoicism reminds us that, no matter how chaotic the world is, your mind is your final fortress. You decide how to build that fortress. Will it crumble in the storm, or stand tall like a mountain? Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher who rose from slavery to become a great thinker, said, "It's not what happens to us that disturbs us, but how we interpret it." Imagine you're stuck in traffic on an important morning. You could let frustration consume you, curse your luck, or slam the steering wheel. But Stoicism offers another way: see the situation as an opportunity. An opportunity to listen to a podcast, practice patience, or reflect on an idea. You can't make the traffic move faster, but you can choose how to use that time. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, adds, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think about the last time you worried about something that hadn't happened, a meeting that might go poorly, a conversation that could be awkward. Most of the time, those fears don't come true, but they still keep you up at night, stressed. Stoicism teaches that by focusing on the present and what you can control, you can free yourself from these invisible burdens. 2. Illustrative story, the sailor and the storm. To understand inner control better, let's hear an ancient story. Long ago, in ancient Greece, there was a young sailor named Lysander. He sailed a small ship across treacherous seas. One day, while deep in the ocean, a terrifying storm struck. Waves rose like mountains, winds howled as if to tear the ship apart. The other sailors panicked, screaming, begging the gods for mercy. But Lysander stood firm at the helm, his gaze calm. A crewmate shouted, "Lysander, aren't you afraid? We're going to die." Lysander smiled and replied, "Fear won't stop the storm. I can only control the ship and my mind. If we live, I'll be grateful. If we die, I'll go with pride." Lysander couldn't control the storm or the waves, but he could control his actions and emotions. He focused on steering the ship, keeping his spirit steady, and ultimately guided the vessel safely through the storm. The crew survived, and from then on, they called him the man who never trembled. This story reminds us that in life, we all face storms of our own. It might be a failure at work, a personal loss, or nameless anxieties. But like Lysander, you can choose to stand firm. You don't need to control everything, you just need to control yourself. 3. Modern story, the woman who overcame adversity. Let's move to a modern story to see how Stoic philosophy remains alive today. Meet Sarah, a single mother living in a small town. 3 years ago, Sarah lost her job at a large company due to layoffs. She found herself in a tough spot, no steady income, 2 young children to raise, and bills piling up. Many would have given up, but Sarah chose a different path. Every morning, Sarah spent 10 minutes writing down what she could control, how she searched for new jobs, how she raised her kids, and how she stayed optimistic. She couldn't change the economy or employers' decisions, but she could control her effort. Sarah enrolled in free online courses to build her skills, sent out dozens of job applications, and even started a blog to share her story. There were tough days. Some nights, she cried from exhaustion. But whenever despair crept in, Sarah reminded herself of Epictetus's words, "It's not what happens to us that disturbs us, but how we interpret it." She asked herself, what can I learn from this failure? What can I do better tomorrow? After a year of persistence, Sarah landed a job better than her old one. Her blog attracted thousands of readers, and she became an inspiration to others struggling. Sarah wasn't a superhero, she was an ordinary person who trained her inner control to overcome adversity. 4. Practical lessons, building inner control. So, how can you apply Stoic philosophy to your life? Here are 5 practical exercises designed for you to start today. They don't require time or money, just commitment. Exercise 1. Distinguish what you can and cannot control. Each morning, take 5 minutes to write 2 lists. Things you cannot control, for example, the weather, other people's opinions, or the outcome of a project that doesn't fully depend on you. Things you can control, for example, your attitude, how you work, how you treat others. When you face a challenge during the day, revisit these lists and ask, is this within my control? If not, let it go. If it is, take action. For instance, if a coworker criticizes you, you can't control their words, but you can control how you respond. Will you argue, or smile and keep working? Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Focusing on what you control saves mental energy. Exercise 2. Practice negative visualization, premeditatio malorum. This is an ancient Stoic technique. Imagine the worst things that could happen. It sounds counterintuitive, but it prepares you mentally and reduces anxiety. For example, if you're about to give a presentation, picture yourself forgetting your lines or the audience not responding. Then ask, if this happens, what will I do? Try it today. Before an important event, a meeting, an interview, or a tough conversation, spend 2 minutes visualizing worst-case scenarios. Then plan how you'd handle them. You'll find that preparing for the worst makes you more confident and less caught off guard. Marcus Aurelius did this every morning, reminding himself he might encounter difficult people or setbacks, but he'd stay calm. You can do the same. Exercise 3. Pause and reflect. When you feel angry, anxious, or frustrated, pause and take a deep breath. Count to 10, and ask, is this emotion helpful? Can I see this situation differently? Epictetus taught, there is a gap between an event and your response. In that gap lies your freedom. Use that gap to choose a wise response. For example, if you get a critical email from your boss, don't reply in the heat of anger. Pause, take a short walk, and think, what can I learn from this feedback? How can I respond professionally? By creating that gap, you'll make better decisions. Exercise 4. Keep a Stoic journal. At the end of each day, spend 10 minutes writing in a journal. Answer 3 questions. What did I do well today? What could I improve? What am I grateful for? Journaling helps you reflect on your actions, learn from mistakes, and appreciate the good things. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations as a way to train his mind, and you can do the same. Try it tonight. Open a notebook or a note-taking app and write a short entry. You'll be surprised how much this helps you understand yourself better. Exercise 5, practice gratitude. Stoicism isn't just about facing challenges, it also encourages you to cherish the good. Each day, take a minute to think of 3 things you're grateful for, maybe a good meal, a kind friend, or simply the morning sunlight. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more precious than a contented mind." Gratitude helps you see life positively, even when things aren't perfect. 5. Facing adversity, wisdom from Seneca. Life is never short of challenges. You might be dealing with a major loss, a painful failure, or the feeling that everything's falling apart. In those moments, remember Seneca's words. Fire tests gold, adversity tests strength. Seneca believed adversity isn't an enemy but a teacher. It teaches patience, courage, and humility. When you lose something, a job, a relationship, or even your health, ask, what can I learn from this? How can I become a better version of myself? Think of someone you admire for their resilience. Maybe they've overcome illness, unemployment, or a personal tragedy. What makes them strong? It's not luck, but how they chose to face adversity. You have that strength within you. Stoics call it inner courage. Consider the story of Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps. In horrific conditions, having lost his family and freedom, Frankl realized that, even when stripped of everything, he still had one final freedom, the freedom to choose his attitude. He wrote in Man's Search for Meaning. Everything can be taken from a person but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Frankl wasn't a Stoic, but his mindset echoes Stoic philosophy. In suffering, he found meaning by focusing on what he could control, hope, kindness to others, and faith in the future. You may not face circumstances as extreme as Frankl's, but you've surely encountered your own challenges. The next time you face hardship, ask, what attitude can I choose in this situation? Can I turn this adversity into an opportunity to grow? 6. Ancient story, Diogenes and freedom. Let's return to another story from ancient Greece, about Diogenes, a philosopher who, while not a Stoic, shared many Stoic ideals. Diogenes lived a minimalist life, rejecting material comforts. He lived in a large barrel in Athens, ate simple food, and cared nothing for fame or wealth. One day, Alexander the Great, the most powerful king of his time, came to meet Diogenes. Alexander said, "I admire your wisdom. Ask for anything, and I'll grant it." Diogenes, lounging in the sun, simply replied, "Move aside. You're blocking my sunlight." Alexander's guards were stunned, but Alexander laughed and said, "If I weren't Alexander, I'd want to be Diogenes." Diogenes couldn't control Alexander's power, but he controlled his own mind. He didn't need money, fame, or approval to be happy. His freedom came from living by his values, no matter the circumstances. This story reminds us that, sometimes, inner strength comes from letting go of the need to control external things and focusing on what truly matters, character, integrity, and contentment. 7. Applying Stoicism in modern life. Stoic philosophy isn't just for ancient philosophers or warriors. It can be applied to every aspect of modern life. Here are some specific examples. At work. Suppose you work in a competitive environment where colleagues criticize you or your boss overlooks your efforts. Instead of letting resentment take over, apply Stoicism. Focus on what you control, do your job well, improve your skills, and maintain a professional attitude. Let go of what you don't control, colleagues' opinions, your boss's decisions, or office gossip. Practice gratitude. Each day, think of one positive thing about your job, maybe an interesting project, a kind coworker, or simply having a job. This approach will reduce stress and make you more effective. In relationships. Relationships, whether with family, friends, or partners, often bring complex emotions. When conflicts arise, remember Epictetus, it's not what happens to us that disturbs us, but how we interpret it. For example, if you argue with a friend, instead of focusing on how they wronged you, ask, what can I do to improve this? Can I listen better or express myself more clearly? You can't control others' feelings, but you can control how you communicate and respond. In health and lifestyle. Health is an area where we often feel powerless, especially when facing illness or aging. Stoicism doesn't tell you to ignore health but encourages you to focus on what you can do. Eat well, exercise regularly, and get enough sleep. Accept that some things, like illness or genetics, are beyond your control. Train your mind to face physical challenges with courage. Think of athletes who overcome serious injuries to return to competition. They can't control the injury, but they control their recovery process and fighting spirit. Dear friend, life is an ocean of storms, but you are not a victim of circumstance. You are the sailor, and your mind is the helm. Today, I invite you to take on a challenge. For the next 7 days, try at least one of the 5 Stoic exercises we discussed. Maybe it's writing a list of what you control, practicing negative visualization, keeping a Stoic journal, pausing to reflect, or cultivating gratitude. Remember, Stoicism isn't about being perfect, it's about getting better every day. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it's not right, don't say it. If it's not good, don't do it." Live by that principle. Choose inner control, and you'll find peace amid life's storms. If you found this video helpful, please hit like and subscribe to be audio for more profound Stoic lessons. Share this video with a friend, and together, let's build a community of meaningful living. Leave a comment below, which Stoic exercise will you try this week? Which story in this video inspired you most? I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Thank you for joining Be Audio. Stay strong, stay calm, and live like a Stoic.